How's it going, guys? My name is Dave Pallets. I'm a full-time eBay reseller. In this video, guys, we have a special guest. We have Joe, Profit First Reseller. He does over $1,400 per day selling electronics and video games on eBay, and I wanted to pick his brain on how he's doing it. Let's get into it.
I get that cash and I flip it, yeah. I get that cash and I flip it, yeah.
Oh, hey, what's up? My name is Joe. I go by Profit First Reseller on YouTube. I've been an eBay reseller full time for about 6 years, but I'm brand new, kind of to social media and all that stuff. So I keep talking to David because I'm so happy to get to know him, because this guy is like a pro at social media already, even at his young age. And I wish that I had your ability to share honestly your journey the first time through with my business. I think people really would have been interested to see this first business that I started, which was a restaurant and a food cart with my wife. And we were totally scrappy. We started off with a Kickstarter campaign and we renovated it in an old hot dog trailer. And we had this concept of a paleo food cart. So that was our first business.
Okay.
And yeah, anyway, I wish that I would have taken the time like you've done to document and to just to inspire, man. Like really, you're one of the few people back in the day who were selling electronics on eBay, and that's just speaking my language. So I love connecting with other creators, man. So thanks for the chance here to talk to you.
No, yeah, man. And there's not too many people selling electronics doing YouTube on that sell on eBay. They don't really. There's not too many. We got J Ride. Me, I used to do that, and now you, and there's maybe like two other guys that I've seen, but it's mainly like people that sell clothing on YouTube. So I came across your channel like last week, like I told you, and I was like, oh, what the heck? And then I saw your 90-day total, yeah, and I was like, whoa, this guy's doing it. And then I started watching all your videos. You really take the time to test everything. You do it the way it's supposed to be done. I love the way you talk about how you are dealing with your family while doing this, and then also your thoughts on like fitness and everything. Like I just like how you do everything all around. So I definitely wanted to have you on here and have a great combo.
Oh yeah, I feel like I relate to you so much. I know we grew up in a really similar area. I grew up in this little town called Oakley, which is about an hour east of San Francisco, and you said you spent some time there. And I've talked to some friends. They said it has not aged very well. I haven't been back in a while. They said it's fine. It's still just a suburb. It's not the most special town in the world, but I
Hmm.
love the area. I love California. Talking to you on the phone the other day reminded me of talking to my friends back home so much. It was like so nostalgic in a way, man. It was just so cool. So I feel like if we grew up in the same street, we'd be best friends. So one of these
Yeah,
days we'll have to work out and go to a flea market together or something. So
yeah, man. Hey, if I ever go to Dallas, I'm down to go like to a flea market over there or something because I
yeah,
have a friend over there. He's like my best friend, so that'd be super cool.
I've heard there's some amazing flea markets out here that I have not even fully explored. So I'd love to, man. That'd be
Yeah, I heard
amazing.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, like some indoor ones. It's just ridiculous, like in the Fort Worth area. That
Yeah.
for the people that might not know this, I used to live in Texas. I lived there for like 2.5 years, so I'm kind of familiar with that area.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Um,
Yeah. Where did you live
yeah,
in Texas?
I stayed in Odessa, and I would go to Fort Worth a lot. Odessa's an oil rig town, oil field town, and I worked out there before I started doing eBay. That was
Cool.
in the past. Um, but yeah, you were mentioning that like I recorded or I've documented the journey while I've been doing this, and I think it's just because of the era that we're in right now. When I was in high school, Instagram had just came out, so I hopped on that wave in my age, where that's like it's more of a normal thing. Everyone, even younger than me, everyone's trying to be a content creator. Everyone's trying to do that now, well, like on TikTok and all that stuff. But I just caught that wave, and I always looked up to people that did YouTube, so that's what I wanted to do. But I think is I just caught that wave.
Yeah. I mean, I've learned so much of this business from YouTube. In fact, I didn't even know YouTube could be a career until I saw full-time sellers who were sharing their journey on, I guess, I don't know. I guess I assumed eBay was just all sold or just run by people doing it part-time out of their garage. And like, of course, if you can do it part-time, you can probably do it full time if you put full time effort into it. And I've always loved going to thrift stores, and I just never put the pieces together. And really, your channel was a big part of it, man. Even way back in the day, Paleo Tech, and yeah, it's so inspiring just to see other people doing it. Sometimes it only takes one person to be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's possible." Like, if they can do it, they don't seem that much
Yeah.
smarter than me. I'm like, I'm hoping people are thinking that about me. I'm like, yeah, if that guy could do it, like maybe I could do my version of that. I don't know about that, but I know about this, and so. Yeah, I think all of us, especially with the ability to like kind of tailor it to our interests, you know, like I know that you have developed this whole Rolodex in your head, probably of all these electronics, and even the ones that are harder to ship, like the stereo receiver, sometimes that's 100,
Yeah.
200, 300 bucks a pop. So, and even you just
Yeah.
sell it for parts. That's another thing I learned from you. I'm like, you could just sell things for parts and people will buy this. Like, really, man, it was almost like an unlock. And like, that's a big part of my business too.
Ridiculous.
It's reduced the stress of trying to repair stuff for me. I'm like, if I screw it up, I'm just going to take detailed pictures of what I screwed up and say, do you want to handle this for
Mhm.
$15 plus shipping or whatever? Yeah, I mean, everything's got a price, right? So it's
Yeah.
just like a 24/7 garage sale, man.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely, it opened my eyes. When I was doing eBay, when I was in my garage, I think I had just gone to my little warehouse. I literally had no idea what anyone else was doing. It was like 2021. Had no idea about the niche in YouTube about eBay whatsoever. It was just me and my buddy Colin, and we were just going at it. We were doing like 20,000 a month. We were like, bro, no one's doing this. Like we just thought we were the only ones doing eBay. And
Yeah.
then he showed me a daily refinement video. It was just clothing when he was doing it at the time, and I was like, and he was talking about 100 a day or something like that that he was listing a day. We weren't even counting the amount of items we were doing. We were just doing it every day, just going, coming back with items, listing them. And then once we saw a structure, a process that you can build, the inventory system, we had no idea what that even was. We just had everything on racks in the garage. And then that opened our eyes. And I was like, okay, if he is doing that with clothing, I can just do this with electronics, do volume with that. And that's why I did that. And then, yeah, it just took off from there, you know?
I love whenever Colin's on your videos, man. He's awesome. He's definitely just like another. He just seems like good people. So
No,
yeah, I
he's a
get it for
great
sure.
guy. Yeah.
Does he still have
And
a warehouse, or what's going on with him?
yeah, no, he's still doing really good. Right now he's doing pallets, and he said he wants to get back into YouTube. He had a YouTube channel a little bit ago.
I
And
think I subscribed. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, out of nowhere, I remember I was like, "Hey, dude, just hop on, man. Like, people want to watch. Just try it out." And like his third video ever got like 50,000 views, and I was like, "Bro, what the hell?"
Whoa, that's
Yeah. And then he
awesome.
just stopped making them, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm telling you, man, just keep making them. Like, you just gotta stay consistent."
Yeah,
But
yeah. But sometimes you got to, I mean, like, at a certain point, I got to respect that I'm only allowing myself to do YouTube because I have my eBay down so well. I know I've got it down. Like I can pay the bills. My family's going to be
mhm,
okay because this is taking on another hobby that potentially takes time and effort. And like, I think you got to establish that first income stream first if
mhm,
you can. And even with a lot of YouTube creators, I see them struggling so much where they start making a little bit of money on YouTube, but then they're not quite full time on eBay. And then maybe they start thinking about doing whatnot. And it's like, for me, at least personally, that would create a lot of stress. Like I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum here. I mean, everybody's got their own path, right? But
yeah,
I see that being stressful if you have all of these and you need all of them to be working to some degree for your life to be okay. Whereas just for me, it's like simple of like, as long as I get my listings up, like I've got such a repeatable system at this point. And then I can start throwing in a little extra hobbies. Like instead of doing an extra 5 listings, maybe I'll do a YouTube video. And for me,
yeah,
that's also a little more personally fulfilling, but you got to create that space first. I think if you're like fighting for your life on multiple platforms, that just seems hard to me. I don't know. I mean, like making a
yeah,
living on your own is hard enough, but making 3 livings or 4 livings on your own is like, man.
yeah. Talk to me
I mean,
about
some people do it, man.
it. It's crazy.
I
Right
mean,
now, in my last video, I just talked about how I pretty much have three businesses, but it first started off with the foundation of eBay. When made my first video, I was doing 1,400 per day. Literally, my 90-day total was identical to yours, and it was literally that was my foundation. I didn't start off like, "Oh, I'm gonna start doing eBay. We'll see how it goes." Like I had already been doing it for a couple years, and then I just been documenting everything and how everything went south, how to switch up, and how to pivot. But yeah, now we're trying to. and through the time of all that happening, we have ventured to YouTube more seriously, or like social media in general, which is that's a whole income stream, and then eBay, and then we do like wholesale as well. I have like partners, but it's a lot to juggle. But eBay is always my forefront. It has to be my focus, because that's the sure thing. No matter what, it's right there.
I don't know how you do it, man. You're doing it all, and you're documenting it on YouTube at the same time, and like having a thick enough skin to handle all the criticism coming in from all these different angles. Like on my first business, I had to put myself in a bubble, dude. Like I would handle the Yelp reviews and the Google reviews because I felt like that was part of my job as a business owner. And of course I would try to get feedback, but at a certain point, like you just need for me at least, it was just a lot of people will tell you, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And you want to listen to them. And when you're on social media, you're going to have 1,000 people telling you, you should do this. And sometimes you already know that's why they're watching you in the first place. You just need to do more of that. But it's hard with all those voices in your head. So man, I just respect your ability to, when you see an opportunity, you're just going to be honest about it and say, hey, I'm going to transition to this. I see that you like I mentioned on our phone call, I see that you're doing tech again, and I'm so excited to see another YouTube content creator that's going to be doing electronics again personally. But I think it's a good move just in general, because strategically, if you're in those areas where that inventory is available, just opening your business up to be able to handle that totally makes sense. So
yeah. Definitely the criticism. Like the other day actually kind of got to me, because everyone was telling me what I should do. And I was telling my dad, like, I was telling him, like, should I listen to them or what the heck? And he was like, would you switch positions with those people tomorrow? And I was like, no, I wouldn't. And then he was like, don't listen to them. Just keep doing what you're doing. And
that's
I was
awesome.
like, okay, dude, like I'm done listening to them. But it's because like on Instagram, we have like 74,000 followers, and then on TikTok it's like another 70. So there's just so many, and everyone has an opinion.
Dang.
And it's
That's
just
awesome.
It's just ridiculous. Like there's so many negative ones, but there's way more positives. But it does get to you. Like
but the negative ones stick with you. There was a book I was just reading the other day that was so good from this guy. He's a school teacher. His name's Matthew Dix, I think, and the book was called Someday is Today. And it's just in general, just kind of like a motivational, just like, go for the big stuff now kind of a book. But he talked about how you can explain a lot of this stuff evolutionarily, like maybe, one bad mistake with a tiger will cost you your life. And we're kind of a similar setup. So we are kind of wired to not make any mistakes, and like the nice compliments don't hit you the same way. So what this guy actually does, he keeps a list on his phone of all the best compliments that he's ever received, because he says, if you don't write it down, all those amazing things people say to you just kind of like float out of your head. And what sticks with you is that one negative thing when somebody else was like, hey, you changed my kid's life, or hey, I really look up to you for this reason, or hey, when you did this thing for me. And like, if you can just make sure, he almost had this hack of like, remind yourself of all the good stuff. Cause I think you're right. Like on social media, the majority of people, right, are going to be good. And it's just real people behind these keyboards, but there's a little bit of an environment that allows people to express their negativity in a way they wouldn't in person. And that is what it is. I think that's what makes social media hard and maybe valuable in some way. Maybe why there is some money to be made is that if you can stick your neck out there and still continue to be genuine, I think people are going to resonate with that, because a lot of those people, a lot of the good people are out there watching too, and they just want you to be genuine, and like they're downvoting all those negative people in the comment section too. So it's hard, like the ratios, it's hard to keep track in your head.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I wanted to get into the nitty gritty of how you're running your business. Let's start off with kind of like your sourcing route, how you started finding these electronics. You mentioned in your channel, but just in case someone's new, how you got it started into eBay, how you started finding product, and like your competitive advantage in there, because I already know kind of how you're getting your stuff, but just go ahead and mention that.
Yeah. So basically my eBay journey started right as my first business was ending, which was our restaurant and our food carts. And so we kind of sold off a lot of our restaurant equipment and our lease off to another restaurant owner, but we still had some restaurant equipment. So I started selling that on eBay. And it was almost like a moment and then I started selling all of my old clothes, like a nice winter jacket I had that I didn't need, my old rollerblades, and all of a sudden, my old snowboard, I'm like, I'll just rent or buy a snowboard in a few years. Like I can sell this nice snowboard for like $200 now. And like, I think we might be moving soon. And so all of a sudden it was like the Matrix. Like I started seeing dollar signs above like everything in my house. Like even my kids' old Duplos. I'm like, Duplos have value. That's a rare one. That's a Donald Duck Duplo. And like all of a sudden I'm like, it almost freed me in the sense of I've always loved going to thrift stores, and then I would just usually just donate the stuff back, right? But all of a sudden I'm like, sometimes I can buy something, use it, and then sell it for even more. I'm like getting paid and I get to use it in the meantime. Like it really was a big unlock for me. And honestly, it really was. It was listening to Daily Refinement, Tech and Sports way back in the day, probably 6 years ago now, a reseller podcast. And I'm like, man, people are doing this full time. I'm like, I'm going to try it. And the number that stuck in my head was 30 items a day. So that was always my goal from the beginning. I'm like, if I can try to find 30 items a day, and it took me about a year or something to like really work up to making that like doable on average, right? Like you really got to build your capacity to like 60 items per day, just in case if you miss a few days. So to really be hammering out 30 per day, you got to build your systems a little bigger than that. And so that's what I did. So I started off just thrift stores, Facebook Marketplace. I did like Chase After the Right Price and Phoenix Resale have done. I would offer like a Nintendo Switch or a PlayStation for trade in exchange for people's video game collections. So I would we'd either have, or I would just go buy a relatively in-demand console, take some nice high quality pictures, like whatever the new system is of the time, and say, hey, if you want to trade me, and then you just got to do the work of like fielding 100 horrible offers for the one good one. That's just how Facebook works. And then that one good one may or may not show up at the appointed time. You know how it goes, but yeah. So I was doing that and like trying to figure out, and then I found the Goodwill outlets, and that was a whole other level where I'm like, I can show up early. I'm going to get in line, be in one of the first 5 or 10 people in the door. I'm going to go straight to the bins that have the electronics. So I was in Portland at the time, and there were a lot of people that were into like into clothing. A lot of like the t-shirt, people call them like the t-shirt bros, tends to be kind of male dominated. There are some women there as well, but like they're all going to the clothes, and I'm like, there are only a couple people going to the hard goods. And I'm like, there's $10, $15 power supplies in here, cordless telephones. So it was almost like just going to where the competition wasn't, but also I'm more of a nerdy type guy. Like I grew up having LAN parties and playing FPS games with my buddies and like building computers. I built my own gaming computer, and that was like this amazing moment. Like I've always had my own gaming computer that I built myself ever since then for no reason. Like I hardly play these days, but I love building them. It's almost like a hobby of mine. So I love electronics. I've just kind of been able to lean into that a little bit. Like one of my first jobs is fixing computers. So anyway, to get back to eBay, basically 30 items a day was my goal that first year. I was listening to Daily Refinement. I was listening to tech. And so, eventually I found the Goodwill bins, and I'm just like, if I can hang out here for a few hours, get the items that I need, whether it's like 60 for 2 days worth or like 90, it's not an exact. I kind of look at my cart and be like, I think that's a good amount of items for what I need. And I hadn't fully absorbed, I don't think, the techonomics or the understanding my metrics at that point. Because I don't think just looking for a number of items necessarily is the goal. And so that led me down a wrong path a little bit those first couple of years, where I was just looking for items. And I ended up buying McDonald's Happy Meal toys that would sell for $1.99 plus shipping. But I'm like, oh, they're here, so I might as well buy them. But it's just, that's also taking away my energy and my time. There's only so much time to list so many items in a day. And like, how many Happy Meal toys would I need to list per day to make my life? I don't even think it's feasible, right? I have to be like, so I shouldn't have been spending my time doing that. So a little bit of learning experience of then shifting to a couple of years later, my wife sits me down. We've kind of been doing it full time. I mean, we have been doing it full time, but we had a little bit of money from the restaurant and we were making it work. My wife, wanted to make sure that we're on track. So she did all the numbers of our life. Like, how much does all of our life cost? And then I'm like, she sat me down and she's basically like, if you can sell 500 a day on eBay, that'll be enough to fund our life. So that's what I ended up trying to go for, was 500 a day. And then eventually that goal became 1,000 a day, just because I don't want to be like scraping by, just in case, right? Like this is nothing in especially in this business, if you're doing resale, is guaranteed. Like, I'm sure that so far the number one question I've gotten is, where do you find inventory? Where do you find good inventory? And there is no golden source. There's no perfect person who's going to be like, here's all the inventory that you need, and the cables are wrapped and it's all tested, and I'll see you next week, same time, same place. I'm going to be perfectly consistent, and the price is going to stay the same. Like that vendor doesn't exist, right? Like
Yeah.
the only way to really get consistency is maybe to get a larger contact list. And so you're not dependent on any one person, because there isn't really any security in this business. So
Yeah.
in a way, I think you just have to understand the game. And so yeah, so and then I started looking for harder inventory. So eventually the big unlock for me in this business of taking to the next level, where I'm like, I think I can start sharing this, when I really wanted to do $1,000 a day, when I'd really been just pinching my pennies for multiple years at this point with that goal in mind. And I'm like, the business had plenty of money. Then I started making calls to the businesses, like the recyclers, the schools, anyone who's like might have electronics that I can look up the model number of and sell on eBay. And I just started making calls, as many as I could. I'm just like, who's going to have this inventory? I will buy it all. I will buy the dirtiest, biggest pallet. If it's been sitting in the rain, like I'll figure it out. Just give it to me. I want to develop these relationships. I've got a little bit of money now that I can put on the line. So now it's more about like sometimes just buying the pallet and figuring out what you get, and dealing with a lot more junk and
Yep.
so now my job is a lot more on the processing side than on the hunting side. Like I
Yeah.
spent so much time building the contact list that now it's more about phone calls, which isn't as much. And then it's just about handling junk, other people's junk.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do, right? It's just, if you can get the junk, I just try to get myself that if my problem is ever that I have too much inventory, which recently sometimes that's been my problem, like that is the best problem to have as a reseller. Like if you hear every other reseller, most of them are having problems finding good inventory. And if you can figure out a way, and sometimes when you're developing these relationships, you kind of get a little more than you're used to, or more, and it does stretch I've had to buy way more bins than I thought I'd ever need, way more shelves. I had to get sheds in the backyard. Like sometimes you kind of have to push the limits a little bit. I am trying to keep this business as small and like low cost as possible. Like we don't have a warehouse or anything, but yeah, just trying to be flexible. And I don't know. It's just, yeah. And just understanding, I think a lot of it was recognizing that just like an advanced video game, like eBay is a game that has a meta game, right? Like you have to understand the first level of the game, which is the rules. That's understanding the metrics. The second level of the game, for me, the meta game, the term that I got from playing competitive video games like Hearthstone and Overwatch. The metagame would be the shifting strategy based on all the other players. So if all the other players are doing a long range attacking character, then you should choose the melee character, get up behind them and attack them, right? Like even if the melee character on paper isn't as good, if all the other players are playing the long range character, the meta game move. So I would listen to these podcasts back in the day of like, what's the meta of the week for this game? Like who should I be picking? Like what are the people would get percentage rates, like 58% of people are choosing this kind of character, so you can counter it with this, right? eBay's kind of the same way, and it's not as clear cut, but what's very clear cut is everybody's looking for the easy stuff. So if you can just kind of start looking for the harder stuff, and whatever your hard looks like, whether it's like picking through men's neckties because no one's willing to take the time, or taking the time to understand brands of clothing. I still don't know what a blouse is. What is that, like a dress shirt kind of a thing? Like I've sold clothes before, but I'm such a noob when it comes to that stuff. And I do listen to clothing sellers on YouTube to try to, like, just in case if like all my electronics vendors ran out, there's definitely clothes available at the Goodwill bin, so I could always do that. But man, the amount of knowledge that it takes is just incredible. So
Okay, yeah, it was insane switching over. I thought I knew a little bit. And honestly, I didn't know nothing, man. Like I had it was a hard learning curve, and I feel like I'm still barely getting there. But it was completely different with electronics. And speaking about you processing and dealing with a bunch of junk, my buddy Colin, I did a warehouse tour with him, and he was talking about he bought 50 pallets of just electronics. 50, right?
at once?
At once. Yeah.
Oh.
He's on some other stuff, man. So he bought 50, right? And then he
Okay.
mentioned like 10% is actually good for eBay. But he got it for a great deal, those 50. Like just raw, untouched. With electronics, that's what you want. You want to dig in there. You want it raw, untouched, I'll take it all. And then you separate it in your own time. If it's already separated and people know what's in each individual pallet, you're going to pay way more. And sometimes it's worth it, but in that case, when you're buying that much volume, you got to just take it. 10% of 50 pallets is insane.
Exactly. I'll happily
Yeah,
take a small, I'll be a small fish in a big pond, right? Like if you can,
yeah,
especially if it's high demand stuff, like you don't want to be sitting on 50 pallets, but if that's stuff that's
no,
going to move, like of course, yeah, it's not,
yeah.
that's advanced, man, 50 pallets. Oh, that makes me,
Oh, he
whew.
when he did 1.2 million on eBay. He was buying about 100 pallets per month, and basically it was a recycling center. It was a ridiculous recycling center where we were buying from, and he would buy sometimes 20 in a day. He'd stay there and just pull out everything, go through each individual one, 20 in a day, fill up his van, and come back in the next day and pick up the rest. Just pull out only the good stuff and probably leave some good behind, and then come back. And it was just ridiculous, like what was going on there. And I mean, I was on the same vibe. That's why I had a 16,000 item store, you
Yeah,
know. Uh,
yeah,
but
that's
yeah, it
so
was just
much,
it's too much,
man.
man.
That's so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, that's what we were doing in the past, and uh, that changed. That stopped. So what are we gonna do now? Then I was like, okay, what about clothing? Um, like you said, what if something happens? The bins are right there. You can get a bunch of it, but it's just a lot of nuances and specific things you have to watch out for. And now I feel like I'm actually like starting to learn a lot more, and I have the connection of like 5, 6 people that I'm just getting the good stuff from, and then now I'm adding the electronics.
Awesome.
But I'm just trying to get
And
the
you,
top tier stuff from
yeah.
there because I noticed you do a lot of power supplies, and those sell great. And the CDs, you lot them up, or like the video game discs. Uh, with that kind of stuff, you test everything. When I was doing that kind of stuff, I wasn't testing and like hardly anything because it was so much. It was
Yeah.
so much volume.
Yeah.
With my volume, I'm trying to get. I'm trying to do my volume through clothing, and the cherry on top is those great electronics. That's kind of what I'm trying to do, just because the testing is it's kind of hard for me, like mentally. Like you have the capacity for that. You love that, and
Oh,
you
I don't
build
know.
computers, and like
Each
it's
one,
so
each
hard.
new repair job is like its own thing, right? And you really have to like take a deep breath, take a sip of coffee, and it is hard. It's hard every time. Once you do it once, it's so much easier, especially if you can kind of like keep the setup as it is. You're not having to go
Uh-huh.
find those cables again. But yeah, that first time always is hard, but that's just separating you from everybody else if you can enjoy. But I do want to be clear. I don't test everything. I just
Yeah.
run the numbers on like, is it profitable for me to take the time to test? And do I even trust myself? So in one case, particularly with Guitar Hero guitars, so all those like plastic guitars,
Hmm.
these days, they sell for a ton of money, some of them, but it's because people use them on their PC for this like game called Clone Hero, which is similar to
Okay.
Guitar Hero, but you can get any song and any difficulty and people. So if you're like a super hardcore Guitar Hero player, you can do it on your PC. So these guys are like hardcore, they want the maximum. And what I worry about in the first couple that I sold, I could test the buttons on the controller, but I wouldn't
Uh-huh.
be able to test for responsiveness in like the same way that these pro players might,
Yeah.
where they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, it technically works, but when I do 4 buttons within 1 second, it sticks a tiny bit on the red one. And I'm like, or the whammy bar isn't quite, the tension on the spring isn't tight like a brand new one. I'm like, okay, I get it. So I just basically have created my own market for a 4 parts untested. So I say untested as the first word. And now I used to dread seeing Guitar Hero controllers because they're big and they take so long. Now I'm just like, I throw them on the carpet and I
Uh-huh.
take 6 good pictures of them and I say untested. I make sure I got a nice clear picture of like the battery compartment and I'm like, hey man, it's your problem. It
Yeah.
is what it is.
How
I
much do
still
you
get
sell them
some
for?
returns, people saying it doesn't work, but it's sold in the 4 parts category. Anytime you sell stuff 4 parts, you're going to get way more returns of the people that didn't read it. But
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
I'll take it because it's made it so easy for me to list. And so I made that inventory into like good inventory for me because it's about your profit per hour at the end of the day. And if you're getting
Yeah.
caught up, so I try not to test anything until I have got a whole stack of them to test, whatever it is. If you're going to get everything out, the controller, the cables, I better have like 20 Xboxes or whatever it is. And I'll just wait and I'll just list something else in the meantime until I got enough
Speaking
to make
of
it worth it. So
Yeah. Speaking of those Guitar Hero guitars, how much do you sell them for parts?
So the
You know,
best one is the black and white one that's angled. It's
check
called.
this out.
Oh, those are good. Those are the Fender Stratocasters. Those will
Yeah.
go between 15 and 25 plus shipping, probably in
Okay.
a few weeks if you just list them. Just get the model number correct. I take off the battery cover so that they can see everything that they get in that first
Uh-huh.
picture. Because what a lot of these people do is they get it for the body and then you can buy replacement kits for the internals on like Etsy or eBay or something. And
Okay.
so they really just want a good quality body casing anyway. And they're going to replace all the actual buttons to
It
like
messes it.
mechanical switches or whatever. So if you just take good pictures of it, I'd be surprised. The only ones that don't sell are the ones that are not name brand. But if it's like a Les Paul or a Fender or if it's like a legit, if it's got a brand name on it that you recognize, they all sell for at least $15. Up to the best one is called the Explorer guitar. It's like the letter X dash Plorer, and I sell
Okay.
that for about $80 plus shipping,
No way.
untested, four
Four.
parts.
Oh
And
wow.
sometimes you just get like a stack of them. Like, yeah, that's the kind of thing
Yeah.
you'll see at a flea market sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
For
yeah,
sure.
it's called
That
the
guy.
Explorer guitar. That's the one to look for.
Wow. Yeah. Because I saw that you had a ton going out one day, and now I'm like, oh shoot, you know.
Yeah,
But
well,
this guy
sometimes I
posted
list
all
like a
these.
hundred. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. This guy posted them on Facebook Marketplace right now. He's asking 100 for all
Oh
of them.
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
With those are the Fender Stratocasters. They don't break in half. So you got to get the 36-inch long electric guitar boxes to ship them. And so shipping's kind of expensive. It's going to be, so I charge about $15 for shipping. It's usually
Yeah.
about $15 to ship them.
Yeah.
So at that point, what you want is like either the rounded black and white Les Paul ones for
Okay.
Wii, those for like $40 plus, or the white and black one that's kind of angular. I don't even know how to describe what the shape it is. I wish I was better at geometry, but it's like a black and white one called the Explorer guitar, and that one goes for 80
Okay.
plus. And if it's working, 100 plus. So,
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna keep an eye out for the Explorer for sure at the flea
yeah,
market.
man.
What were you mentioning right before that?
The Guitar Hero controllers. What else is like? What else? Oh, I was just saying that like I don't necessarily test everything, but testing
Yeah.
is a big part of our business, right? Like I
Yeah.
have a full testing setup. I have 4 little 7-inch HDMI monitors set up like in a quad. And so I have a huge snake of cables that I just kind of just tuck underneath it when I'm not using it. But I've
Uh-huh.
got every power supply and just about every video cable ready to go. So all I'm gonna have to do is just plug it in. And then with all these drawers, I got a bunch of these little plastic drawers that I just get on Walmart behind me. I have like, I don't know, dozens of them. And so I have
Yeah.
one for PS1, one for PS2. And so I'll go get my drawer as well. So when it's time to test some PS2s, I go get my PS2 drawer and they just pull out so I can just have it right next to me. And that'll have at least 2 controllers and like memory cards and a couple of clean games and like everything else that I need to test the system is like right there. So I can just pull it out and then just start testing the consoles, like usually 2 at a time. So.
Okay. Perfect. I saw that you do 2 Wii's at a time, 2 controllers, and you just
Double fisting it. Oh yeah, man, definitely. You can even do like if you can sync it where you're just like literally doing everything together and you're just like doubling your efficiency. It's so satisfying,
crazy.
especially
Oh,
when you're like finding. I mentioned on the Tech and Sports podcast we did a couple of weeks ago, but he was saying how much he loves that like so often Nintendo Wii's have games still inside them when you
yeah.
buy them. People just leave them in because sometimes you forget the power supply somewhere and you have to, you need power to actually eject it. So it just ends up staying in the machine. And usually it's a
Yeah.
good game because the games that people actually play on Wii are the ones that still have value these days. I think that's part of the value. It's Wii Sports, it's Mario Kart, it's Super
Hmm.
Smash Bros. Like the games that people probably still want to play with their families
Yeah.
still are in that $15 to $30 range for even just disc only.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of other games like Wii Fit and We Play, but nobody ever played those. There's a bunch of them out there in the world. I end up finding
Uh-huh.
them in these bulk lots, but they're never in the machines because nobody ever played those bad ones. And the ones that they played are usually valuable. So, and
Yeah.
buying Wii's, there is like a 50% chance it's going to be even more valuable than you think. It's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. With Wii's, I saw that you sold like 30 of them or 40 of them, all in one
Oh,
go.
no, it's 65 at once in
65 of
one
them, right?
transaction.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh, that's one thing I liked about electronics is like if I had 60 Apple mouses listed up, like I think I have one right here. Oof, like the white ones, just the normal Apple mouses. I remember once I had like 60 up, and someone bought them all, like $17 each. He's gonna make money. I made my
Yep.
money, and the person I bought them from made money. Everyone's happy. And I would always get a bunch of people, or like here and there, you get an offer for everything. We have multi-quantity with electronics. The more you have
So
of something
cool.
similar, sometimes they just buy all of them, you know?
Do you
One thing I
know
love
who
about
these
that.
buyers are for you in your experience? Like, I always imagine that they're probably maybe an Amazon reseller of some sort, but have you ever talked to these people? Like, do you know who your bulk buyers are?
Um, Back in the day, I think it's just normal people that they don't mind taking a lower profit per item. Like they don't mind spending 17 and waiting and making sure they get their 30 with no promoted listing, with no uh, extra fees, right? They don't mind making $6 on each item if they could buy a bunch of something. And maybe they refurbish them a little more. I don't know, but I think it was just normal people. One thing would sell a ton to this one guy. It would be like the electrical shavers, like Braun. He would always buy a ton. Like once a month, he would just come in and buy a ton, a bunch of gaming mouse, and then like the Astro headsets. Like there was a bunch of people for everything, right? The Astro headsets, like I don't know where you'll sell 50 of them when you have so many listed,
Yeah,
but
I
there's
cannot get rid of
people.
those. I end up donating Astro headsets. I cannot get rid of those things. You list them in
Not
bulk and people buy them?
back then I would just list individually, like all
Wow.
individual, but that was 2 years ago now. With electronics, for sure, stuff depreciates, stuff
Yeah,
changes quickly in the electronic space. With the old video games, it's like kind of standard. Now they're gonna only get better as we go because people are gonna want the older stuff. It's gonna be harder to come by. But with the newer stuff, like this mouse is not gonna be worth the same in a year or two. You know, you got some Google
so true.
Nest stuff. When I first started, the Google Nest stuff was insane. Now it's
Yep.
not the same. It changes quick. When I first started,
Man.
iRobot Roombas were insane. We were getting a ton of them, and they
Yep.
were flying like this.
Yeah, the
Now
ones that you
they're
can
gonna
break
sit.
apart into parts are great, like the different motors
Yeah.
and stuff. You could make such good
Uh-huh.
money on those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just no. The parts I think sell better on the Roombas than the actual Roombas altogether right now,
Yeah.
and Dyson stuff, because the Roombas, the older models, people love theirs, so they'll go and buy the extra tire or the little swirling thing on top, or
Hmm.
all the parts, or the dust compartment. Sometimes it breaks for them, or they just want to replace
Totally.
that. I think the parts sell
Yeah.
better than the Roombas now, but
I
stuff
get it,
changes
man.
quick with electronics.
We just ended up keeping one of the Dyson vacuums and like it's amazing. One of those ones that like charges when you put it up on the wall and you take it off, it's like ready to go. It's
You have the
so
V12?
nice. V10 or V3, I think
V10?
it's a V10 maybe, something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
I think I have the V11. When those pallets, we would get so many, bro. Like, I have like a video from like Snapchat when I was doing everything, and I remember I had like 6 tables all lined up. It was just Dyson stacked up, there were like
Oh,
120 of them, bro.
the
And
dream.
but you just like you gotta clean them all. They have a bunch of dust.
Yeah.
All the heads, I would separate everything. The tubes sold them separately. The heads full of hair.
So they're
The
probably all off of a return pallet or something or
everything used up, returned,
yeah.
um, separated. Some of them wouldn't work. And what I would do with the non-working Dysons, I would just take off the battery. It's always the battery. If you put a new battery, they work. So like
Cool.
the
Okay.
motor heads, yeah. So
Yep.
if you guys find Dysons and it's not charging, it's always the battery. You can take off the battery, and the motor head will work with the battery. So you can put it as pre-owned, motor head only, no battery, and you can get way more money with
Cool.
those Dysons for sure. But
That's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, what else have I been selling a lot of these days? These days, I'm getting into the good stuff because I got to eat my vegetables. I listed all my Guitar Hero guitars. I listed all my big video game consoles because my space was getting tight. And like, sometimes it's hard to say no to a good buying opportunity. So I'm like continuing to buy pallets. My
hmm
space is getting tight in the garage. And that's where I keep all of my incoming inventory as well as all my listed inventory. So it's like a good reminder, like I need to be listing stuff and I got to be selling it constantly,
yeah,
right? So
hmm
for a while, I was just literally thinking about volume. I'm like, what's the largest volume items that I own? But that wasn't necessarily the most fun stuff. And now I've got a bunch of these boxes of just like random small, like dongles, like a little rock band dongles that it's like
hmm
a $30 item and it takes you 4 seconds to list. And
yeah.
so I'm getting into those later today. I think I'm looking forward to it. So,
Yeah,
but I've
and
been trying to eat my vegetables because like when you're buying, especially if you're going to try to buy in bulk, like you don't make money until it turns back into money, right? Like we're
yeah,
putting so much up front. We're putting our own money up front that could be sitting in a high yield savings account. Like instead it's sitting in my garage, like, like may or may not make it until somebody buys it. So I want to get this stuff in and out as
yeah,
quick as possible. When people often ask me, they hear what I do, like if I'm an eBay seller, and then they ask me like if I have some specific game or something in stock. And I'm like, I don't have anything in stock. Like all my good stuff sells in 2 days, like
yeah,
everything left on my store is probably the stuff that I may or may not buy again. I have a lot of old stuff from back when I was buying like
mhm,
cordless phones and stuff. But
yeah,
like, I think if you're disciplined, like I think, and you gain experience, you don't want to put effort in to stuff that doesn't sell quick. I think
mhm,
you hear over and over again from experienced resellers, like sell through rate is just so important.
yeah,
But unfortunately, I had to do some volume stuff just to kind of work through my stuff. And now I got to get to that good, juicy stuff that's going to sell like
yeah,
same day. Like it's
yeah,
just so
yeah,
satisfying when like you don't even have to put the thing away. Like I just listed that thing. Now it's sold. Like that's my favorite feeling. I
yeah.
get to get to some fun stuff today.
Speaking of the stuff that sells quick, I was thinking about before I was like, okay, I'm gonna add electronics. I thought about all the electronics that I like the different categories that when I bought them, they sold right away and they were just insane profit. Like every time I was like, okay, what were those things? I just want to do those. With the
Yeah.
clothing, it's a slower game. That's for sure. Even if it's a great item, it's a slower game, bro. Like clothing is just slower, which I don't mind because it's much cheaper and it's just a volume game. But with electronics, okay, I was like, what sells fast? And I just want to do that. I don't want to add the extra stuff. Okay, I was like, okay, digital cameras. Cameras do amazing if you get the right ones. And then like music equipment, recording equipment, and obviously video game consoles. Uh, Great stuff. So, like you said, you want to get the good stuff. Like we all want to get the good stuff.
Yeah.
And if you
But
can
that
get
is also stuff that
that,
may not be as popular to look for too. Like audio
yeah.
equipment, I think scares a lot of people off.
Hmm.
It's harder to test all the different inputs and outputs and all that stuff. And so I think that is the kind of separating you because even I've made so many calls asking if people have electronics or video game related stuff for me. And even I still have a hard time finding what I would consider to be the holy grail for my business, which is the games themselves.
Uh-huh.
Like I was saying before, like sometimes I'll find them in a Wii that I happen to buy, but like you're not going to find a stack of like vintage Final Fantasy cartridges. Like
Yeah.
that's never happened to me, right? Like that stuff people
Yeah.
know. If I see a bunch of anime looking characters holding wands, that's probably worth $50. I'm just going to sell it on Facebook Marketplace. Like I
Yeah.
think, but so what I get is a lot of like Madden and like a NBA 2K and stuff like that. But
Yeah. Yeah. The normal
yeah, I
stuff.
just think you got to look for that stuff that's just not as easy. And I think audio equipment, especially, it's out there, and there's so many customers out there willing to pay for certain name
Top dollar.
brands, and
Top dollar.
happy to pay, yeah, and maybe a little less than top dollar on eBay from you if they can get it the same
Yeah.
thing but for a little cheaper, right?
No,
So
yeah.
those are
Top
the
dollar
exact
as in,
customers you want.
yeah, like there's so much audio equipment that literally the more buttons it has, the more like heavy duty it looks. Like pre-owned 200 and it might be
Dude,
500 brand new. But I
yeah,
love that stuff.
mixers and stereo
Mixer.
receivers especially. They have so
Yep.
many knobs and buttons. They look intimidating, but there's a huge market for those things.
They always like that's one thing that I hardly ever got returns on. And I just bubble wrap the heck out of it, make sure it gets there safely. But bro, there's no way I could test that. Like I don't have any of that kind of stuff, and they're all different. They're
Yeah.
all different. I have to literally make a song on it in order to
Yeah.
know if it works
Oh, I
perfectly.
know. And all the different inputs and outputs with the receivers, you've got to
Yeah.
match like the impedance or whatever it is, the ohms on
Uh-huh.
the back. So you can't even have one set of speakers necessarily. Like there's
Yeah.
so many things to test. It is hard. I would probably just like try to buy it at a price where I could sell it as untested. And
Hmm.
then maybe eventually over time develop that expertise. If you happen to get an item over and over again, you're like, man, if I could figure out how to test this item, I can make an extra $200. I'm going to sit down
Yeah.
for an afternoon. And that's kind of what I've done with my whole business of like, I'll take everything and sometimes I got to sell it for parts, but over time I've learned to obviously like, I'm not unlearning anything. So the more you go, the more you stay in, I've learned to fix so many more simple problems. I have a
Yeah.
video on my channel of how to repair a really common issue on old Xbox 360 consoles is you push the eject button and you hear the like it's trying to open, but the thing never actually opens. And you kind of have to bang on the top and eventually it'll open. And what's happening is that there's just two little gears that turn. And instead of a pulley inside, what they use is an old rubber band as the pulley, just like a car. It's just like the pulley in between the two gears that spin, but the rubber band gets old and cracked over time. And so it's just not, the wheels are spinning fine, but the rubber band isn't catching to actually work because it's too old and crusty. So if you can just get that thing open, just replace it with a rubber band. It's like a 1 penny repair. You can often get these things from like 4 parts to working. I didn't figure that out right away.
Massive difference on the Xbox 360s, 4 parts and working with, like they sell way better.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say all you did was smack it.
Well, I mean, that does get it to open. If it was just my console, if that worked, I mean, maybe who cares? But I think there is a hard drive usually, or if you had a hard drive attached, you don't want to be banging on something that has a hard drive trying to access data at the same time. That's probably a bad idea.
Funny, that's how my dad would fix anything growing up. Like, hey, my Nintendo's not working.
Man, it works a surprising amount of the time. I do not hate on that, man. If you've been in the electronics long enough, I think Secret Castle Games and Toys, another YouTube channel, they call it the 127, and he just whacks, consoles all the time, and like it totally works. So.
Literally, my dad was in my warehouse like yesterday, and we were like trying to get something going. He literally smacked it and it turned on. We were hella laughing.
That's awesome. Your dad's great, man. I love that episode you did checking out his warehouse and stuff. It was fun. Fun to see you guys interact. I can see it's just cool to see where people come from, and you can see you learn a lot. Like obviously you're different. You guys are on your own paths, but it's cool. My dad was kind of an entrepreneur in his own way, a very different way. My dad was a pastor growing up. So, but he started churches. We moved to a new state a couple of times, and he wanted to start a new church in a new town. So it's kind of like a business in a different way, but still coordinating people, being a leader. And now I'm realizing in a way, he's also been producing an hour-long podcast every week for my whole life. Cause doing a sermon is essentially a podcast to your whole congregation. He's just been doing the same thing forever. He's like an OG. So yeah, it's kind of fun.
Amazing. So they post the videos to YouTube, of
his church actually does now. It literally is a podcast, but I just mean in general, he's been producing content for my whole life. In a way, he has been a content creator, but just for a limited audience. Only recently has somebody else in the church been you should share this. He's not super into sharing that stuff out there, but he's if other people want to listen, you can put it up. So I think it is a podcast you can find. So yeah.
Hey, on YouTube, there's a massive niche. Just speaking about your faith. I'm Catholic, and sometimes I watch videos, but I've seen people with hundreds of thousands of views per video, just speaking, just reading the Bible, just speaking of whatever religion.
Sure, man.
It's crazy that if your dad literally just recorded a few things,
I know. And I want to get the two of us because I've kind of gone my own path. I would consider myself spiritual, but not religious, whatever that means, I guess. But we're best buddies, and we see so similarly on so many things. And I've often wanted to get us on a YouTube channel together and reacting to things like father and son, but he's still so religious and I've kind of gone the other direction, but we kind of have very similar tastes, but from and we have even very similar lives, which is so funny, even compared to my other siblings who are maybe, in some ways a lot more similar to my parents. I've decided to have kids and my wife, and I'm kind of following this entrepreneurial lifestyle. And philosophically, we are so similar, even though we kind of have different foundations. And I love that kind of ability to see how different philosophies can end up converging on very similar morality and very similar ways of treating and valuing human beings. And anyway, I've learned a lot from him. He really is a super interesting guy. And he told me once that one of my favorite things he's ever told me, he said, true maturity is the ability to hold two opposing ideas at the same time and not necessarily choose one or the other. We were kind of talking about growing up and thinking about your parents and wanting to please your parents, but also wanting to find your own path.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go full in on one, only pleasing their parents, but obviously that you can see some downsides to that, or full in on rejecting everything. And I think maybe the mature path is the middle path. It's and even if they're opposite ideas, if you can just kind of hold them both, often there's truth in both. So that's cool. Man. That's beautiful to see you guys still have that relationship. And I love seeing that. So
yeah. And I mean, we have a lot of different philosophies on a lot of stuff, but we always, like you said, we meet in the middle. and we just put it aside and just it's way more important our relationship than our ideas. Like
Yeah.
if we can grow old together, that's gonna be amazing. Like that's the way I see it.
Oh,
Don't
me
let
too,
that get
man.
in the
That's the most
way.
important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
and
that's
yeah, man,
beautiful, man. That's so cool. I knew you're one of those family first guys. Like I get it, man. I think that's why I've related to you so early on in this YouTube journey. Is like you need a why in this business, right? And like I can see that like you do have that. Like you have that why, but also I think my another thing my dad talked about one time. It's almost like the same talk in Spider Man, but my dad talked about it. I think the saying is like the noblesse oblige or something, but it's like the obligation of those who have a lot to give a lot back is like something that was really drilled into me. And it's like the whole Spider-Man thing of like with great power comes great responsibility in a way. And like I think in modern language, I can recognize that I just had a lot of privileges growing up, like two parents that loved me and
Mhm.
and these entrepreneurial heroes that I could look up to growing up. And so that's kind of really a big reason that I'm doing this YouTube channel and wanting to share back on social media, even as somebody who is quite introverted and I don't even love the attention. And I think the attention might make me comfortable and not work as hard, but I'm
Uh-huh.
doing it because I want to give back in a way because I have gotten so much from other creators like you, man, who have just shared their journey. And I keep saying it. You have so much time. You're so young and you've been able to share and learn. I've seen your journey, but I'm also know that you're learning because you're having to be able to withstand the public scrutiny at the same time. So I've got a lot
Yeah.
to learn from you as well, man. So I really look up to all you're doing. So
No,
I
thank you,
appreciate
bro.
it,
It
man.
means a lot. And yeah, we have to. I mean, I'm just here to like help out and share, and that's great that you're doing that too. You have a lot of knowledge that you can share, and literally, brother, like you can literally change people's lives with these videos. Like just how you watched Daily Refinement Tech, like what you're doing now, and like by spreading it, it can just be an insane wildfire. I learned
Yeah, bro.
to help people through my dad. You don't know how many people like I saw him pull to the side and teach in person. I remember my cousin from Mexico came when I was younger, and he was here on a visa, and he just wanted to make a couple bucks for while he was here through the visa. He took him with me. He's like, "Hey, you're gonna be with me for a week, and I'm gonna teach you everything." And took him sourcing, shipping, everywhere, and he's been doing that my whole life. So like I just like saw that example, and I was like,
So
I
cool.
love helping people and teaching and I don't know everything, so I just also am sharing, as I go.
Yeah.
But that was like literally the example I had. So that like I just am inclined to do that now.
That's so cool, man. And I think document is like such a key word. Like, I don't listen to him as much, but I used to listen to a lot of Gary Vee. And one of
Hmm.
the things that stuck with me was he would just say, document, don't create, you know? In a way, I think I was kind of holding back from sharing my journey on social media, maybe that first time around in business, because I never felt like an expert. But I don't feel like an expert now. Like I realize
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever comes because I'm always looking for more challenges. Like I might feel like I'm an expert compared to where I was, but if you're continuing to push yourself and set goals, you're always going to feel a little uncomfortable. So I've just gotten more comfortable just sharing the journey, not feeling like
Yeah.
you need to be an authority on anything. Like you
Mm-mm.
can share, and the more honest you are, and just let people pick and choose whatever parts maybe of your journey. And you're not expecting anyone to copy. Like that's not the point, right? But the
Yeah.
point I think is just it's just honesty. Like I think that is what's so refreshing. Like if I see a creator who I'm like, I could see sitting down and getting a drink with this person and just hanging out and talking. That's what it feels like on some of these podcasts. And
Yeah.
yeah, just I appreciate it, man. Like it's hard to do. It's hard to do in the midst of everything else and the camera, and you
Yeah.
still have the business to worry about. But if you can like take a minute and share, that's just where I appreciate those few creators because I'm sure there's always been people doing it full time on eBay, but there's only a handful who are shared in this particular way that at least
Yeah.
I was able to get. So I'm sure there's
Yeah.
forums. I'm sure there's other ways, but YouTube happens to be my love language, I guess. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, I want to create a YouTube channel on how to grow on media, social media. And I think, like, my advice on there is, like you said, not to create, but to document. People can see through someone fake immediately. You can see someone when they're trying to force something or they act like they know everything immediately. And my dad told me that from the get go. When I first started, at first I was completely genuine. And then I started like scripting videos and just like, okay, what am I going to talk about? 3 ways to do this. just sounded like a robot. Like I was like, and I was like on and off with YouTube, and then I told my girlfriend, I was like, okay, I'm gonna come back again for like the third time, taking a break, and I was like, I'm gonna just document and just whatever I'm doing, like whether it's good or bad, it might look dumb. Like I'm literally just gonna put it up, and it's way more easy to put out content consistently because it's just sharing what I'm doing in the day or the week or what I did last month or like something that didn't work. So it's way easier to create more content, way more genuine, and it's just way better, you know?
And I think for me, I think being a parent has caused me to be a softie a little bit, but flexing the muscle of documenting is just so important. Like the other day, I was on this camping trip with some buddies, and
Uh-huh.
somebody asked me like, "What's the funniest thing your 3-year-old has told to you?" And like, I couldn't remember anything off the top of my head. And I was like an existential crisis moment of like, am I documenting enough of my life? Because my memory is not perfect here. And there might even be some lessons that I'm missing, much less those fun moments that I'd like to relive when I'm 80. But like, I think just being able to capture where you're at in as honest of a way as possible just as a journaling exercise. I mean, everyone who's ever journaled or has kept a diary is like, yeah, duh. But I've never been that guy, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So I think this has been a good practice for me of just like trying to develop an external stream of consciousness when usually that's just inside and often nobody else hears it. And then I forget about it because I'm off in my own world. And like some of those things are meant to be captured. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been good for me, I think. It's been like outside my comfort zone a little bit.
No, yeah, it's good, man, and you're doing great. And like you said, I'm like an introvert and an extrovert at the same time. I'm like right in the middle, because I can talk for hours in person, and then sometimes I don't even want to talk to anyone. Like when I go to the gym, I see an old buddy, like, oh, what's up, man? And sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk. Like I'm just gonna be in the corner today. Like
Uh,
I'm right in the middle. But I can talk for hours, and then sometimes I just don't want to talk. You know, so I'm like right in the middle. But yeah, definitely. I can turn it on and off. And you're an introvert. It's a little different, you know. Like you gotta.
Yeah, what I've realized for me is I just got to be around people that I don't feel like I need to censor myself around. And
Uh,
if I can be completely honest, which includes sometimes just silence, then I don't really feel drained being around people. So there are certain friends that like I could just hang around all day. My wife, obviously, like there's certain people that just you kind of groove with. So
mhm.
I've learned that like it depends on the person, but I do definitely have a timer where it's like if I feel like I need to be keeping up the conversation or if like I'm hosting a party or something, that's like a whole different situation. Of course, you're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
trying to keep track and manage everyone's expectations, and that is a little bit more exhausting. But
yeah.
there's some buddies like you don't need to manage; you're just hanging out together, and like you can just be quiet for a sec, and then you can just fart and laugh about it, and it's gonna be okay.
That's funny. So yeah, man. What plans do you have moving forward with your eBay business? Do you want to keep it the same? Do you want to grow it eventually? What kind of plans do you have for that?
Man, I have not expected to grow like I have this year. So I'm averaging about $1,400 a day over the last 90 days is what my total is averaging per day right now on eBay. And my goal was just to keep it at 1,000. So last year I like scraped in at just exactly $1,000 a day. And I just wanted to keep that goal the same, but like introduce some more hobbies, some camping and biking and stuff, which I have been doing. But I've also just, I think, been continuing to list better items, list higher quality items, and then just be more patient, list things in lots of 2, 3, 5, 10,
Mhm.
instead of just doing onesie twosies if I can, and just focusing on other things until I get enough of one item. And so as you get in volume, you kind of like learn the ebbs and flows of things. And so I'm just trying to creep that ASP up. I'm trying to keep my number of items sold per day to just around 30 or 40. And not like I'm trying to limit myself, but I've just found that it tends to be my upper limit of like a comfortable amount of listing with also managing everything else in my
Yeah.
life. But if I can increase the quality, then that and I continue to get better at my testing processes, so I'm like messing around less, and so yeah, my whole goal was just for this year to be easier. And I actually created enough space that I wanted to make a YouTube channel. So I just started the YouTube channel this year, kind of with the extra space that I created, but we're
Mhm.
still growing the business as well. So I don't know, man. My goal is not to increase expenses, but to see where we can take it beyond that. So we're still working out of the garage, and I got 2 sheds, like 2 tough sheds from Home Depot installed this year in the backyard, just for some extra shelves to keep basically one shed is fully just cardboard boxes. It's just
Okay.
all the boxes I need from all my electronics, and the other one is some other back stock and inventory and stuff. But yeah, I just want to keep it small. Like, so basically my business pays a portion of our mortgage as like rent to me and
Oh
my wife.
yeah.
And so it's almost like negative expenses in a way. And like we share the same internet bill, we share the same electricity. And so it's just I love our setup right now. And so I'm just gonna try to keep it super, super small and just see where we can go with it. So no big plans. I don't want to hire. I've done the employees thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great, but I'm too introverted for that. It's hard. Unless I was gonna be able to pay someone so much that they could just handle my whole life or something and I wouldn't need to manage them. Like they would be managing me. Like if I could pay an
Yeah.
executive assistant like 6 figures, maybe like years and years from now, I'll consider that kind of employee, but I don't want an employee I have to manage necessarily. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
No, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I've had people helping me for a while, and it's extra. You know, it's right now. I only have my sister helping and taking pictures just because of all the stuff I have going on. If I was only doing eBay, I would just do it only like just by myself, honestly, because I've done that in the past, and it's just so much easier. You have way more money in your bank account. Those $400 or $500 you pay them, you can just do it yourself and keep that money. It adds up after a while, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I feel you, man. I mean, it's just my wife and I, and it's all going to the same bank account. Like she's on the payroll, but it's all going to the same place. So it's fun keeping it small and looking back on our first business when it was just my wife and I in our food cart and just taking turns. Like it was kind of hard because we didn't see each other as much. Like one or the other needed to be working. But before we hired any employees, we were so efficient and so profitable. And so I just like wanted to capture that first few months of our first business and just keep it going with this one. So we've been doing that stage for the last 6 years in eBay. Of
profit
just
first
like
reseller.
keep it small, profit first. And I wasn't able to put a name to it until I started hearing people talk about that book. And I'm sure I've been influenced by the same people. I had never actually read the full book, but I get it. And like, that's exactly what I'm doing. It's just like, you have to be thinking about paying everyone out of that profit first.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I told
that's the way to
I
do
was
it,
talking to
man.
my dad yesterday about how I was gonna have you on here, and I was just like, man, like when when I was having more money in my bank account, growing all the time when I was doing eBay, it was when I was just listing like 30 a day by myself, and I had a 1992 van, and that was it. Once I added like all the extra stuff, that's when the money comes down instead of putting it into more inventory, and you have less profit. Right now, I downgraded my car significantly. I had a monster truck basically, and I was like,
Fun.
man, like I don't want to. I was like, dude, like it got expensive. It's just like
Yep.
with the gas alone, hundreds of dollars per month, and the insurance, all that
Man.
stuff. It was just
Oh, in
crazy.
California too, your gas is like twice as expensive as our gas in
Oh yeah, you
Texas.
guys are cheap.
Oh,
You
that
guys like
sucks.
260 or something or
Yeah, we're like
$3.
250, 260 right now. Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
man, when I mean I think the highest I got over here was 650, and you're
Oh,
filling up 32 gallons. It was
oh my God.
insane, bro.
That's like $200. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dang.
it was like two something. But yeah, I
Dang.
got a $4,500 car. The insurance like $50 a month, chilling, and I don't plan on upgrading nothing, not for a while. But yeah, it's just really really nice when the bank account is actually growing, like week to week.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly, man. I don't
that's the
like actually
goal.
growing the responsibilities. It's not as fun, especially once I start having kids. Like kids are enough responsibility for me. And there's just so
Yeah.
much more time I can invest in them. So keeping my responsibilities light on the other side is just the key. But what about you, man? Do you think in terms of goals like next year or multiple years? I tend to think like 1 year at a time. Like when starts to become New Year's, that's when I start thinking like, all right, well, what do I want my next year to look like? But
Yeah.
do you think long term? How do you think about your business?
Oh man, I mean, I have like massive goals, really ambitious, but also like I want to take it a step at a time. Like I would like to have a really big eBay store with a lot of clothing and shoes and electronics that's just generating a ton of money. But I have to take it a step at a time and not get ahead of myself. First, let me build this up with the clothing. First, let me start integrating these electronics. I don't want to think too big, but I would like to have the YouTube channel to like 100,000 subscribers with a massive eBay store. And I see a lot of people that do YouTube now. They're going to Whatnot. It's that quick cash, you know. And I don't fault them for that because they have the audience and they could just funnel the audience to make the money. But I don't want to do that. I really want to be like, I want to have my eBay store as absolute best as it can be. I want to generate a lot of money through there and also document. I want to be the only one that has a lot of subscribers and creates a lot of content, but also has a very great eBay store. So I want to be like good at both. You know, I don't want to just switch off eBay just because this is going good. Like I don't want to do that.
I see something that I worry about, and that a lot of these YouTubers who end up switching to Whatnot and then only selling to their own audience, is it reminds me of something that Derek Siever said in a book called Anything You Want, I think. He's an entrepreneur that started this business called CD Baby. And he was kind of famous for saying no to all the big record labels and would only accept small artists to actually come and join the business. And the reason that he only ever wanted small clients to come join him and not some big like Sony or something to come start telling him is because when you have a few clients or a few customers who are buying a large majority of your stuff. So if I see that would be like the switch from selling on eBay to everyone, just switching on Whatnot to a much smaller market. The problem is, or the difference is that small group of buyers starts to have a much larger amount of power over the kind of business that you can make, because they can start determining your prices of what are they willing to sell. They can start saying the kind of stuff that they want. So if you only have 3 clients, so I've really avoided in my business, I've had a bunch of people say, let me buy all your Wii's, come off of eBay, let's get some deal and I'll just buy all your X. But if I set up all my systems to only sell my Wii's for $25 to this guy, and then all of a sudden I get an email and he says, actually the price is $20 now, but I know that I can get at least 25 or 30 market price, but I've already set up my systems for this. It's just, I think if you can stay agile and just practice selling to the broad market, having many small customers, the one benefit, not that one is better or worse. There's money to be made in both, obviously, but it allows you as the business owner to kind of do what you want, because all you have to do is just follow where enough buyers are. But you haven't set up your business to be like beholden basically to a small group of people. Like I kind of started to get insular, that then those YouTube buyers who are on Whatnot start to only buy the stuff that their audience is looking for. Yeah. And that's good for a while, but I think that it does limit you in some ways of what you are willing, and at least definitely limits your creativity as a businessman. I like the freedom. So yeah.
I was going to say, I've noticed the people that have switched, I think the views, like I said, I'm going to make a channel on YouTube. The views follow eBay. eBay is where the views are. And they get successful on YouTube because they were doing eBay, and then they go off of it. And then people get turned off by it because eBay is relatable. That kid that's young, or that guy that has a couple kids that wants to try eBay, Whatnot is not relatable to him. That's not something that's achievable for him. He doesn't do social media. eBay is like, wow, that guy's doing eBay. He went there to that flea market. I can go to this flea market. I can find something like that. That's relatable. And that's why the eBay niche is very broad. And when people wave off of that, it's going to affect the content, to really provide value to people. That's what I noticed, my observation. But I'd never want to wave off of eBay. I want it to be my forefront, my driving force. And it creates more content, helps more people. And I make money through documenting my journey. It's
so cool.
I don't get money through the people. They just watch and I get money, But it's just I want to keep it that way.
Man, so inspiring, dude. I love seeing your journey. I'm so excited to see where it's going to go. And I cannot overstate how excited I am you're doing electronics again. I can't wait to see the new stuff. And we should talk about testing stations. I'll send you some pics of my testing station. Yes, I'll do a whole video on my channel soon coming up about how I test it.
Guys, make sure
if you got any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, make sure you guys go subscribe to them. I have all the stuff linked down below. I'm going to get the little LCD screen you have. I'm going to get it, and then I'm going to get the power cables for all the major gaming consoles, just to have it ready, and just do it better than I did back in the day. I want to get a testing station for receivers, because some of them are just insane, and the VCR combos, some of them are just ridiculous. and I don't mind shipping that stuff, but
Yeah.
if it works and it's tested, it sells amazing. You know, some of them can be really expensive, so I want to have a
What are the
separate tab.
brands? Do you have any brands on the top of your head for receivers?
Oh yeah, Yamaha, Toshiba, Onkyo,
Yeah. Cool.
Panasonic, Sony. Those are the top ones. But there's some
Awesome.
older ones, old
Yep.
Pioneers that are like they look like just chrome, like all chrome and then wood. Check those out.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ones
Okay.
that have like
Okay.
the silver front plate
Yep.
with a bunch of silver buttons, wood in the back. Some of those $1,000, $2,000, sometimes even more.
Whoa.
One time I
Pioneer.
messed up. I
Whoa.
should have bought this, but at the flea market there was one. I took the Google Lens picture and it said 8,000, but the guy wanted like 1,000, and I was like, I don't know, like I could just buy 1,000 more items or
Yeah.
whatever, and then it's way more money because it's $25 each. But I honestly, that's one transaction. Like I should have just done it, but some of them
Dang.
can be
What was the
crazy.
model number? Do you remember? What was the $8,000?
Dude, I don't remember, but it was crazy.
Dang. That's so cool.
It was like a
What I know
Pioneer
it can be
again.
really valuable is those tube amps. Have you ever seen some old audio equipment with like big light bulb looking things? It's a tube amplifier, and those things can be
Yeah,
thousands and thousands.
yeah. Yeah, amplifiers are really good. Obviously, the audio equipment, like we talked about. Medical equipment, you got to be very careful, but that's really expensive if you get the correct thing. It can get
Yeah.
removed from eBay.
I've had Philips go after me for doing like the Respironics stuff that looked so valuable
Yeah.
back in the day. Yeah, I got in trouble for that.
Oh, I remember my first 3 weeks selling on eBay. I got a Respironics. What was it called? I forgot the exact model. But that one was the one at the time, and I got it for 800 on Facebook Marketplace, and it sold for like 42 after like a couple days because it was when
Whoa.
COVID was going on. It's a portable one, and it was
Yep.
just hot. It was just hot at that moment. Now they're not even worth like 800. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Like it changes quick with the electronics, but yeah, that one was a monster flip.
Wow,
But
that's awesome. 42.
yeah,
Dang. Good job, man.
yeah, that was back in the day. But right now, I love the cameras. I picked up some live on my video yesterday. The
Yeah.
digital cameras. I saw them and I thought they were older models that were like maybe like $40. I took a picture, and they're actually one of them was 430 and the other one was 650. I got them for
Whoa.
$30 each yesterday, and I was
For little
actually
point and
recording.
shoots?
Yeah, no,
Whoa.
it's a little
Awesome.
bigger. I think you can record. They're
Okay.
really high quality though. They're Fujifilm,
Whoa.
but I paid 30
Whoa.
bucks, and I was so happy because obviously I got the item, but I was recording for YouTube that day, and I was like, let's see what we find.
Oh, the
So I was like, oh
best.
man,
That's great.
best. I'm gonna tell you the model number right here. Okay, Fujifilm X-Ti, and it's just a mirrorless digital camera, just the body
Oh,
alone for
yeah.
30. And then another
Dang.
one, Fujifilm X100S. Yeah, it's 640, and I just ordered like the chargers and all that because I want to make sure they work. But
Cool.
yeah, $30 each, can't beat that.
What a come up. That's so good. I bet you're so glad you're like at least looking for that low hanging fruit. Something that Chase After the Right Price talks about all the time is like as you grow as a reseller, you're able to look for the low hanging fruit in more and more categories. Like, right, as you gain
Yeah,
experience, you're like, oh, I know that brand. I'm not a clothing guy, but like I'll pick up a Vineyard Vines if I see it, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you start to learn that low hanging fruit. So yeah,
yeah.
that's
And
cool.
now that I'm adding that piece, I'm gonna just pick up the low hanging fruit on shoes, clothing, and electronics. Just scan everything quick, throw it on my cart, and if it's obviously a good price, but you can move quick, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm very excited.
So good.
Um, I bought like 20 vintage jerseys yesterday, and one just sold this morning already. Literally just launched it this morning, and it sold for 50, and that was like the worst one I got.
Oh,
So
so
super
good.
exciting.
Wow. And then that's
Yeah.
that sell through rate too. You start seeing it move quick. You're like, oh, it's got to make you feel good.
One thing about electronics, when I did it, I didn't even know what sell through rate was. I just like
Right.
searched it up. If it went for 30, I posted it. Luckily, with electronics, like most of the stuff just moves a lot quicker than like clothing. But I had to learn about sell-through rate way more and really like lock in on that with clothing and just
Mm-hmm.
transfer that over with electronics. Like, okay, and then you just really start seeing like something that's going to sell fast, you know?
Clothing really is expert level in some ways because like you can increase the sell-through rate just by having the right keywords a lot of the time if you just
That's
know
the main thing.
how to capture it. But that's hard. It's hard to know.
Yeah. Yeah, the title that I put for that jersey, like there was none listed that was exactly. So I had to create the title myself,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that camera, or it doesn't have to be that camera specifically, but if it's a Fujifilm X100S, you don't have to do anything, bro. Like if someone's looking for that, they're gonna buy it with electronics. When it's a
Totally.
Super Mario Smash Bros. CD, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to create the title any differently than what it is. It's just super
It's like you
simple.
don't
You
have to
put it up.
create the demand
You
because the
don't.
supply is so limited. Like there's only one Super Smash Bros. Brawl for Wii disc. So if you want the disc, like there's only one to search for. But like
Yeah,
there's even so many polos from one company from one season, and so
yeah,
it's just a lot more SKUs that you got to kind of pop up and compete among. It's different.
yeah,
It becomes a lot more price competitive in video games because there's like 100 people all trying to price themselves down to get the next buyer. But
yeah,
just it's different. But the sell through rate's definitely there.
yeah. That makes a massive difference on the keywords. And I have a virtual assistant. They take care of all the clothing. For the most part, I get very normal stuff, but I know when I gotta edit something. When it's something very specific that I'm like, okay, I picked this up for this reason. Like, let me just add that on there. Like, to train
Yeah.
them, I
Well,
have to teach them everything that I know. That's gonna be very hard. Let me just
so
edit it
hard.
real quick, on a specific thing, and we can just move a lot quicker.
But you've worked
But
with the
yeah,
same team for a long time, right? So that
oh,
is a process where they do learn over time. And
yeah. I've been with them for a very long time, and like,
cool.
yeah, with the electronics, they did an amazing job, and they're doing really good with the clothing as well. I'm actually really impressed. Sometimes they add stuff. I found a Marmot jacket, and we'll see. I put it up really high, but on the webs, there's none on eBay, and it had like a very specific name, and I was like, what the heck? I can't even find it. They probably just listed it wrong, and then I tried to find it. I couldn't find it. It was on the Marmot website for 400, and it's like
Nice.
something that hasn't even really came out yet because it's not on eBay yet. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just put it for 150. But they found that specific model name for it, and I couldn't find it on eBay anywhere with that specific model name. So they
Wow,
do they do a
cool.
great job. Yeah.
Oh, the student is becoming the teacher. That's amazing. That's the dream.
Right. Yeah. No. Sometimes
Wow,
they
that's
they
awesome.
they, they do surprise me for sure.
That's cool. Oh man, I think it's just so awesome to see, man. I love seeing that just journey. I can't wait to see where you go, man. And so happy to connect in person. I feel like we're buddies already. This is great. I hope we do this
Oh
again
yeah,
soon.
man. Yeah. As soon as I saw you, I was like, oh, I gotta talk to this guy. Like I gotta
Me too.
talk
I've
to him.
always wanted to, but I've been too shy. I've got to start my YouTube channel. This is
Nice.
kind of what I was doing it for. So man, just like making my dreams come true over here.
Hell yeah, man. That's so awesome. But yeah, man, we have been chatting it up for a little bit. Do you have anything else to say to the people?
I do. I have this YouTube channel, Profit First Reseller. If you're interested, check it out. I'm just kind of documenting my life, selling $1,000 a day on eBay. Just my wife and I, keeping it small and just trying to keep it fun. And was my year to like have fun. That's where I bought an old bike and I'm riding it around with some buddies and I'm like starting this YouTube channel. So yeah, if you're interested, check out the YouTube channel. But really, I'm just like happy to be part of the community, man. Happy to be giving back a little bit. And I try to respond to every comment because I recognize that I owe so much back to the game in a way, not to sound cheesy, but like I really wouldn't be here without other YouTube creators. And so I've just got to figure out my own way of giving back. So this is part of
Yeah.
it. So thanks for having me on here, man. I appreciate
Hey,
it.
man. Thank you for coming on, man. And yeah, guys, make sure you guys check it out. All his links down below. You guys can learn a ton from him, not just about eBay, but just in life and his philosophy on things. And it's great to watch. Yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. It was like, I don't even know how long it is so far, but it's an
Time
hour
flies.
17. One of the longest ones so far. Heck yeah.
Dang. Nice.
Woo. Felt like a breeze,
Dang.
bro.
Was
I'm not
that
gonna
over
lie,
an
man.
hour? Man, that felt like 45 minutes. That's crazy.
117. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to catch you guys later, right?